because we're going to get into the origin stories of Microsoft and Apple. Now, there's been movies made about Steve Jobs. There's a lot of information about Bill Gates.
Shout out Michael Fassbender.
Jobs.
Ashton Kutcher.
So break it down
playing
for us.
himself.
How did Apple start?
So Steve Jobs was just a charismatic hippie guy. He didn't wear shoes, which we know I'm not okay with. Men's toes should be kept hidden.
You should never see those.
Does it need to be sock sandal or
sandal?
Something
sock
must cover
sandal.
the sole.
If we're gonna do a sandal, it has to be many manicures,
They need to be heard and
pedicures.
never seen.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like if I still dated men, they would have to be toeless, just like stomping through.
Jade,
And I love
now,
the world.
Men need toes, girl.
Okay, so there is Steve Jobs.
agree
He's
with
working.
Jade.
Wait,
Men's toes.
First time in my life that I agree with Jade.
watching this movie with Steve Jobs barefoot is what made me realize I needed to stay with women forever because I was like, yikes.
There it is.
Do we take
Let
a
me
sip?
take a
It's like
drink
a
to that.
reverse
It's a
one. It's a
reverse,
reverse
yeah.
one. Okay.
So Steve Jobs is working at Atari. Nobody likes to work with him. He doesn't like to work for people. He's just one of those independent entrepreneurs who wants to start his own business. And he's yelling at everybody barefoot. Nobody likes him, okay? Put some shoes on.
caveman.
You're at the workplace. So then the boss is like, okay, you know what? You come up with a video game and I'll give you $5,000. $5,000 in the early 80s was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So he goes to his buddy Wozniak, who's just hanging out in a basement making boards, okay? And he's like, we need to make this our own video game. He makes this video game like overnight, okay? He takes it to his boss and the boss is like, this is incredible. I can't believe that you came up with this so quickly. He goes, wait a minute. I'm not only going to do these little stupid video games. I'm going to create my own generating system, my own computer maybe one day. So he goes to Wozniak. They start a business. And then eventually they come up with their very own computer that people can have by themselves.
Apple
Now
too?
with the help of Microsoft.
Personal computing.
Personal
we'll get to
computer.
Microsoft then.
So he gets investors because he is so charismatic. Honestly, people are offering him like $90,000. He's like, that's not enough. Like he just had the guts and the intelligence and the drive. And that's what created Apple.
And the marketing capability, because
Yeah.
I feel like Steve Wozniak was very much like the brains behind it all, but anyone could be a brain, but I think Steve Jobs had the vision.
Anyone can be a brain. That's not true. I'm not a brain.
Anyone. Alyssa, sure you are.
I know I look like it.
We
but
believe
no,
in you.
I'm sorry.
You're blind enough to be
Elizabeth.
smart.
Sorry, I didn't want you guys to do that, but thank you.
Steve Jobs had the vision, and I think that is kind of like what gave Apple its strong start.
Yeah, and sure, he lied to Wozniak about how much he made for that video game. And sure, he didn't come up with the idea himself.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
However, without that drive, Apple would not be what it is today.
We'll
which
really
is,
get into Steve Jobs and how much Alyssa and I hate him.
I think we need to talk about the origin of Microsoft,
talk
which
about
came
Microsoft.
before Apple.
which came a year before.
1 year before.
Okay.
Oh, 1 year.
So we have Bill Gates, Paul Allen.
My guys.
Your guys. Alyssa is obsessed with all the
I
guys
love
of
the Microsoft guys. We're
In
going to
like
get
a-
into
in
Steve
like a horny
Ballmer.
way, honestly.
Kind of, yeah. We're going to
Honestly.
get into Steve Ballmer. He's the one that really started for me, the CEO.
Wait, the sweaty
He's
guy?
really sweaty.
The sweaty guy, yeah.
And
Okay.
them
He
dancing.
sweats under here, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, who sweats here?
And I
That's-
do.
He's
I do.
he's
Yeah.
That's
stressed.
passion.
Developers. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get into
Developers.
that. So Bill Gates is in Seattle. He's like, I was listening to
Drinking
this
coffee.
interview, and it's like the prime time, right? Like he grew up at literally. Do you know that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were born the same year?
Whoa,
crazy?
fun fact.
They might have the
Okay.
same astrology. Let's get the astrology folks
Yeah,
in there.
get in there.
What
Let
is
us know.
what is Steve Jobs and Bill Gates' rising and moon sign?
And how did that
Important.
contribute to their company?
Exactly.
Put
That's
that
not
in
a
the
bad
comments.
question.
Yeah. That's not a bad question. Yeah.
So Bill Gates was really lucky. His dad was like a well-to-do lawyer. He went to a really good college prep school where they had computers and was like coding at a very young age.
He was a coder.
He was coding at a very young age, and he like had this crazy mentality. Like both of his parents were really business savvy, and like there's this interview of him from a friend where he's like, what type of CEO am I going to be? Like it wasn't even a question
That
of,
he would
like,
be a CEO?
That's what he wanted to do, and then became obsessed with this stuff. He had like multiple companies before Microsoft, like truly a visionary, and also just like a really nice guy. Like Bill and Melinda Gates have done a lot. We'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
I think as a guy, like Bill Gates has a lot of respect from people.